We have just learned that 3 officers have been shot. One, we're told, is a U.S. Marshal. 2 others are St. Pete police officers. 1 is still inside with the shooter.
Let's give you an idea of the scene. Here's a map of the location. It's in the 3700 block of 28th Avenue. It's a residential area.
Police tell me they have been in touch with the gunman by the telephone. They are trying to negotiate with him, but obviously you can tell from this police presence there is still no way this guy is coming out. This will give you an idea of what the scene looks like. We can't show you live pictures. We've requested by the police department not to do that because obviously they don't want to give the shooter inside the house an idea of what it looks like. About 4 minutes ago we heard bang, bang. We didn't know if it was a tear gas being thrown into the house or gunshots. 2 minutes after that, in rapid succession, bang, 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 bang. 6 what appeared to be shots, and then in just about the last 90 seconds, we saw a police officer being loaded into the back of an ambulance and being rushed out of here.
We're following breaking news this noon. A deadly shootout in a St. Petersburg neighborhood takes the life of 2 police officers.
It is a sad day for all of us here in the Bay Area as we mourn the loss of 2 local heroes. I'm Dia Riley.
And I'm Dan Schaefer. Right now, the man accused of shooting those officers and a deputy marshal remains inside a home.
We were indeed the first crew to bring you live pictures from the scene and the first on the scene of a very sad situation here in South St. Petersburg, where 2 St. Petersburg police officers and a deputy U.S. Marshal were trying to track down a fugitive from justice and knocked on a door about 2.5 blocks up the road and walked into a hell of a gunfire. Basically, what we are told is they knocked on the door. They didn't realize the suspect was in the house. They talked to, we don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend, his companion, but the woman in the house said, yes, he's here. He's up in the attic. He's there right now. And so the police officers went to get him, and when they climbed into the attic, the suspect opened fire. That's the sound of gunfire at the beginning of a daring rescue. You can see police officers duck for cover, and seconds later, more police racing with a gurney and the fallen comrade going to a waiting ambulance. He had been trapped inside a gunman's house for 2 hours after being shot while trying to arrest a fugitive.
There was an exchange of gunfire with the suspect. During that exchange, we had 2 St. Pete officers wounded, and we had a U.S. Marshal wounded.
It all started at 7 o'clock this morning, waking Grace Abernathy, who lives nearby.
It was just pow, 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 and then all of a sudden the sirens. You heard the sirens, and it got crazy, and people started knocking on doors, telling people to leave, and made everybody move to the side, and then it just got busy.
Grace was one of dozens evacuated after the shootout. And then a massive police force stormed the area to try to rescue the officer. Very sad day. But these guys are still being very professional because they know they have a suspect in the house about 2.5 blocks away. We were told a short time ago that they are, quote, methodically searching the house right now. And I asked, does that mean there's officers in the house? And I was told, no, we do not have officers in the house. That's an indication to me they're using robots.
Just a tough morning. I'm seeing so many examples, too, of police officers leaning on each other right now. That's all they can do. Some of them are gathered right out here, right up in front of the doors of the ambulance entrance. I've been watching them for hours now, some of them hugging, some of them crying, some of them praying. They started gathering at these doors right after the police chief gave us the grim word that 2 of these St. Pete police officers did not make it. We will not know the names of those 2 officers until later this afternoon, but I have learned both are married, one has children.
We want to update you now on breaking news we've been following here all day. The St. Petersburg Police Department is getting ready to hold a news conference on this morning's deadly shooting.
And I'm holding things in my hand that belong to the officers that were handed to me by various officers at the scene. A badge, a ring, a wedding ring, 2 bracelets that were on one of the officers' arms, and I kind of got these at the scene as people were handing them to me. And I'm having a hard time letting go of it.
I've been digging into Lacey's background all day and discovered that he has a long history of violence. When Lacey was a teen, he was arrested for stealing a car. Not long after he got out of jail, he was convicted of raping a 17-year-old ex-girlfriend. He was locked up for the next 8 years. But the story doesn't end there. Lacey got married. But in 2008, when his wife found out about an ongoing affair and confronted him, he allegedly savagely beat her, saying, quote, the only way she was going to leave the home was in a body bag.
First came the police escort, and the ambulance was close behind. The siren was the second of the morning, and it wailed for those in uniform who couldn't speak.
That's all I can say. He's a brother and he's gone.
It wasn't long before St. Pete police cruisers fell in line along 6th Avenue South in St. Pete. And at 11 a.m., the block in front of Bayfront's Trauma Center was still and quiet.
The two officers that were from the St. Petersburg Police Department that were struck had both been pronounced dead.
Chief Chuck Harmon says he knew both officers. USF Police Lieutenant Reggie Oliver didn't know either, but it doesn't matter.
As you know, we're all a family. It's really hard. It's like losing someone close in your family.
While Oliver did his job outside, other officers, friends, and family broke away from theirs. Some look like they came straight from the scene in SWAT gear, and their chief met them all.
No words you can say, no things that's going to comfort whatever. I think that you show that you care, that you're concerned.
The hospital lobbies swell with men and women in blue, at least 100 or more. And while their cruisers sat idle, parked along 6th Avenue South, salutes sent one of their brothers away. No siren, just silence.
This is ABC Action News.
Loud gunfire during a daring rescue to pull a wounded police officer out of a home. When it was all over, 2 St. Petersburg police officers had lost their lives.
To lose 2 in one day is a tremendous loss for our department and our community.
Authorities go after the gunman, tearing down the home where he was holed up.
He was somebody we wanted to get off the street, and obviously today you see why.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Wendy Ryan.
And I'm Brendan McLaughlin. 3 law enforcement officers were shot during a gun battle in St. Petersburg this morning. It happened as they were serving a warrant at a home on 28th Avenue South. Tonight, 2 St. Petersburg police officers are dead. A U.S. Marshal wounded.
Rebecca Medina is live at police headquarters with a look at how these men served the department and the community. Good evening, Rebecca.
Good evening, Wendy. Chief Harmon said that not only did these 2 men have pretty incredible careers with this department, but they had very promising futures with the department as well. Now, that has all been cut short today. And he said for right now, it's time for this department and the families to begin to heal.
They were cops, fathers, husbands, sons.
Those were the words of the St. Pete mayor as he described 2 of the men shot in the line of duty, killed as they served their city, attempting to arrest a dangerous criminal, according to police.
We conducted an officer rescue with our tactical and apprehension, or SWAT team, if you will. They got Officer Yaslowitz out of the attic. While they were doing this, they were being fired upon.
39-year-old canine officer Jeffrey Yaslowitz was rescued from that attic shortly after fellow officer 48-year-old Thomas Badinger and a U.S. Marshal were transported to the hospital with gunshot wounds. Yaslowitz and Badinger didn't survive, but the U.S. Marshal did, suffering gunshot wounds to his lower abdomen. He is expected to be okay. All of this bloodshed at the hands of Hydra Lacey Jr., according to police.
I feel a lot of anger. I feel remorse for the family. But I think it's going to take some days of healing before we get through all this.
Serena Fazan has been looking at these officers' careers, and she has more on the families they leave behind.
They served and protected our community, but they were also loved by many. Yaslowitz leaves behind a wife and 3 young children, 2 boys and a little girl. This is a family photo from their Facebook page. Batinger was also married, and this is a picture of him and his wife, also found on Facebook.
She grabbed my hand today, and we were in the hospital and made me promise that I would get a message out that he would have done anything for his fellow officers.
The chief also said in his nearly 10 years as chief, he has not lost an officer. Losing 2 in one day was beyond heartbreaking.
Shots rang out, breaking the early morning calm of this St. Pete neighborhood. This home video was taken by Henry Purdy's wife.
That's gunshot.
It was one of those things like it was out of a drama movie or something at that point. And at first we couldn't believe what was going on. It didn't seem real.
But it was far too real, and they were right there as police moved in on the house.
Wow. There's somebody been shot.
And now that it's over, Henry wishes it had never happened. And he had these words for all the officers on the scene.
It took was an act of bravery and courage to just approach the situation after things had begun to start.
Just a horrible situation, and Henry said it to me. His heart breaks for the officers and their families. Like all of us, you know, our thoughts are with them. Our thoughts are with their families.
A makeshift memorial was started at St. Petersburg Police Headquarters, just about 20 feet from the front door. People have dropped off candles and flowers. The deaths of Sergeant Tom Batinger and Officer Jeffrey Yaslowitz are the 13th and 14th in the department's 107-year history.
Some of these folks woke up to those gunshots that you were talking about. Some people basically walked out trying to get their paper and saw nothing but sirens. There were officers running down this street with machine guns. 2 officers and their suspected killer literally died next door.
I didn't make this stuff happen.
Sometimes who you are and where you've been can alter how you deal with tragedy in your own front yard.
So I'm from New York. I'm used to it.
Grace Abernathy
Who that, Dale?
grew up in the projects in Brooklyn.
You learn how to duck. You learn how to be places, where to be and where not to be.
Grace was inside her house at 7 this morning.
What I heard was the gunshots, you know, first, and then you heard the sirens. And then you heard them banging on people's doors, because you could hear them going around knocking on people's doors, telling people to come out. It was cops knocking on doors, and cops don't knock on doors unless something's really wrong. So, you know, they coming to get you.
You're glad it's not like it was yesterday.
They told Lewis Williams he had to get out too as the danger escalated.
Don't let no more die today. Leave.
He sat on a stoop, amazed. What Grace had seen in Brooklyn, he had not.
I never seen a picture like this.
I could see the helicopter.
Bill McKinney's son works in law enforcement up in Ohio.
You don't know day to day, no matter what you're doing.
You don't?
When you're going to die.
For him, seeing this tragedy
You hear more in that scanner than you can get here.
hurts. It makes him and his wife think about what could happen to their own son.
It worries me and his mother. We don't know. It could be any phone call, any night.
And let's go ahead and show you what is happening right now out here. Work is being done on this house that is mangled and mashed and pretty well destroyed. I would imagine this work is going to continue throughout the night. I can also tell you that police cut the power to this neighborhood, this entire neighborhood, earlier this morning with the intention of making sure that the power was off at that house behind me. A number of the houses in the area were also evacuated, including Grace and Lewis.
The shootings not only disrupted the neighborhood, as Jeff explained, but 3 Pinellas County schools were placed under lockout. Thurgood Marshall Middle School, just a few blocks from the scene. We spoke with school officials there. They say the lockout began at 8:30 this morning and lasted all day. Classes went on as normal, though, and students were allowed to move around within the building, but no one could come in or leave.
When we first heard about it, we were kind of all panicking, so our teachers tried to calm us down and explain what was going on and that everything was okay.
I was just like, where is the guy that did it? And I was just scared about that.
Florida Blood Services has a desperate need for type O blood in the wake of today's shootings. Bayfront Medical Center ordered 18 additional units of type O to treat the officers, lowering their reserve. So if you can donate, go to any Florida Blood Services center or you can call 1-800-68-BLOOD. There are other things you can do to help as well. Suncoast Law Enforcement Charities is accepting donations for the officers' families.